Hello and welcome to episode 33, and today we're going to continue our look at counterfeit microphones. And today we're going to pay attention to the counterfeit versions of the Neumann KMS105s, a handheld condenser. Quite neat. They come with a rather nice and fairly authentic little case, which even seems to have the Neumann branded book. These are actually quite nicely made. Now you have to be a little bit cautious, as in all these microphones, because there is not just one. I've come across 3 different versions of this mic, all slightly different, all with pros and cons, and you need to identify the one that you've got. So if we start by removing once you remove the basket, if you have a look inside it, it's quite difficult to see, but there is an inner screen. So you've got the coarse mesh on the outside, and then you've got a finer mesh internal screen, and you then have a micro screen on the inside of that. For a copy microphone that's designed to be cheap, this isn't too bad at all, is it? I mean, you know, a bit of care and attention has gone into this one. It leaves us with the turned element here, which has got a very standard, typical electric condenser capsule right at the very top. It's screwed in. You can actually undo that top ring. There is a little piece of micro mesh in there, so it's yet another filter. And underneath that is a very ordinary condenser element, typical 2-pin construction, and it just sits in a recess at the top of this and is secured by that retaining ring. That whole assembly is movable. It sits in a little rubber mount that sits in the top of the microphone with a cutout. So there is a degree of isolation between the body of the microphone and that unit. And once you put it back together, when we insert that back on the top of there and start screwing it together, it compresses that inner grill down, squeezes the rubber and fixes it quite nicely. Okay, so we've got a microphone that works. We've got a handheld Neumann. Now, what do you think about that's my fingers on the unit. So I don't think it's too bad. It's crisp, it's bright. I mean, let's be honest, it's a typical cheap cardioid electric element. So it sounds like one, does the job. For a simple microphone, and probably if you wanted to record guitars and things that you want a little bit of brightness, these are not too bad at all. Now the differences. It's branded. This particular one is branded Neumann with a stick-on formed and curved label. So it's not paper, it is actually metal. It's a badge that's stuck on. Inside this unit, and I'll show you a picture, it uses a long PCB. So discrete components, the PCB runs from around there where the XLR socket is, finishes about there, and then on this particular one there is a piece of screen cable linking the PCB to the top of the electric unit. Threads up through a hole, 2 solder connections, and away you go. So that sounds all right. This one here, same sort of thing. Same as this one, same sort of thing. Apart from the second one I've got, internally has a completely different PCB. It's half the length, the components are in a completely different layout, so it's not remotely the same product. Now, the rest of it is exactly the same. It's got the same basket, same internal screen. Take this off, it's different. That's a very similar unit, but it's not the same. Indeed, you can actually see in that one, you can see down to the actual condenser element itself. The housing is very similar, but it's not exactly the same. So that's a different design of that bit. It's a different design PCB, but as far as I can tell, the tube is exactly the same. So this one with the small PCB sounds like this. Hello, 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. That's not bad. It's usable. So that's the one with the small PCB. I'll switch this one across now to the original one we had that's got the longer PCB. 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. So that's the microphone with a completely different PCB and a slightly different head unit inside, and one filter less in terms of pop screening. I don't think it seems to make much of a difference, but it is actually one little grill missing compared to the others. So that's these two. Now they're common design, and from a distance they look exactly the same when there are actually subtle tonal changes too. But that's those two. How about the other one? The last one, no badge. Just a red label. And when I plug this one in, that's the unbranded. So strictly speaking, I guess we shouldn't call this one a counterfeit. It's a clone, is that a good word? This one doesn't claim to be a Neumann. It doesn't have a Neumann instruction book, doesn't come in a Neumann bag. It is just looking like one. But what do you think about this sound-wise compared with the other ones? It's different again, considerably so. How about this for hand noise? There's a reason for that. This uses the same long PCB. So the PCB inside is exactly the same, and the actual lower half of the body is exactly the same as the other ones we've looked at. But when I take this off, we've got a slightly different unit again, direct access to the microphone. That's actually the top of the electric element. It is actually held in there with the same screw ring, but this unit is threaded, and this golden coloured unit screws into threads in the bottom housing. The electric element in this mic is screwed firmly into that golden coloured unit. The golden coloured unit screws firmly into the housing here, so there is no shock mount in this microphone whatsoever. It just doesn't have one. The double-headed top unit is still there, so you've still got the external and internal mesh shields in there, but that's it. There's no more protection. So this microphone, while it's got the fairly normal electric element in it, it's got the usual long PCB, it's not going to sound the same when people touch it. There's no shock mounting whatsoever. It doesn't make it completely unusable, but it certainly makes it awkward to use. 3 Neumann KMS105s, 2 badged and branded as if they are Neumanns, but they have different PCBs inside, and a third that is not badged or labelled as Neumann anywhere on the microphone. It has similar electronics to one of the other ones, and no way of using it really, because it makes a lot of noise. But all of these things were advertised and all had different prices, all came from different suppliers. None of them sound exactly the same as a KMS105. I don't suppose at the price these are we actually expect that. But there we go. So if you're going to buy a KMS105 counterfeit mic, be careful. I'd go so far as to say 2 of these are usable. One of them, no, probably best avoided. And ironically, it's the one without the Neumann badging is the one to avoid. So there we go. Quick one on the Neumann KMS105 microphones that you can find about now. Anyway, see you on the next video. Have fun. Keep yourself safe. Bye.